You know what? I just noticed I was muted. I knew something was wrong. So I'll do the intro of the piece. It happens. I muted the sound earlier on because I was testing something. I was doing a test stream, live stream. I was testing something there, and I muted the sound just in case. And now I just realized that the sound was muted. So sincere apologies. I'm not doing the meditation stitching with silence. Not quite. I've been talking for the last, I don't know how long, 10 minutes. Oh, actually longer. I've been on, I've been streaming for about 19 minutes now. Oh dear. There you go. But at least you had a bit of peace and quiet in the beginning. But so let me do the intro again. So this is a piece called Dry Flowers. Dry Flowers. It's from Heaven and Earth. And it's 25 counts. Let me start again. It's all live. It's all live. And let me bring up my markup again. I just want you to appreciate the full picture here. 25 counts, half stitches. So 2 over 1, 10 stitches. And I think that's it. 25 count fabric. And the floss is CXC floss. I said all this in the beginning, but yes, I'll repeat it for you. Apologies. So it's just a beautiful beautiful piece. And I was talking about how unremarkable, in a way, the title, in terms of the title of this beautiful piece, is so pretty, but it's called Dry Flowers, literally. I wish they would come up with a more romantic and more sort of names that actually suited this piece. I don't know what you think. Because this piece reminds me of sometime maybe autumn. Because dry flowers, you probably make flower. You take fresh flowers in the spring, maybe in the summer, and then you try to preserve them for the autumn and the winter, isn't it? So, and the whole tone of the colors, the palette is very kind of autumn-like for me anyway. So, what do you think? It feels peaceful. Just looking at the colors. So the first few stitches, they're warm-ups, just like a yoga class. There you go. And once it's flowing, it's flowing. So 612, and I zoomed in a little too pretty close up, but I just want to prop it on top. It's easier for me to find the thread. Let me have a look. 612. 612. So I've got one here already. 612, this beautiful green. It's already threaded. So here we go. And just in case you missed my muted audio, it'll be quite remarkable you actually managed to hear me. But this is midnight in London, past midnight. So it's a late night bedtime, before bedtime stitching. Oops, where do I put my needles here? Good. And then I'm going to pocket to the side here and then snip this bit off. Very carefully, I'm going to snip it off. So I'm not totally happy with the way I start my thread at the moment with half stitches. Well, I suppose you could, if it's a new thread, you can do a loop start, but one with leftover pieces, I just haven't found a perfect way to start the thread or finish it, to be honest. It's a learning curve. I mean, 10 stitches are fairly new to me. So I'm still seeking the best way to start an end thread other than loop start. I suppose you can do loop, you can create a loop with one strand or two without the actual loop there, if that makes sense. But it's not as elegant, I don't think. Beautiful. Let me move it over here a little bit. Space. And I'm drinking peppermint tea right now. No caffeine, even though the other night I was drinking coffee way up to past midnight. Very naughty. But I managed to have a really, really nice sleep. You know, after a session of stitching, I felt very relaxed. Two here. And open more. Three zero 3011 3011. The great thing about this piece, it's there's so many shades of these sort of really earthy green colors. You know, a lot of my pieces, they're more on the colorful side, and the colors are more vibrant in the sense, maybe less subtle like this. I mean, the gradients here is just beautiful. I really, really love it. So loop start is no problem here. Very happy to do it. And one over here, I'm going to stitch this one below. And that's the last stitch of this color in this area, so I'm going to anchor it down here to end my thread. I don't mind this way of thread ending, but I much prefer not to have this at all, because it sometimes gets in the way if you don't remove them in time, and if you have to part somewhere in this this grid, then it gets in the way. But I managed. 3011. One, two over here. Just above this one here. It's not uncommon for me to park in the wrong stitch, wrong location. Right. 612. 612. Another beautiful green. Oh, I've got one thread part already. I do this a lot. I would let me see. It's the same color. 612. I'll just put it back, because sometimes I forget to mark the part thread, so I get confused. It's very short, so I'll put it down here. Down. I did park it, didn't I? I did. I was getting very confused. Um, and once you start to kind of mess up one stitch, and the other one's getting kind of a little bit messed up as well in terms of location, and you start to have to figure out which thread is what color is supposed to be where. And now I think I part this one in the wrong spot as usual. Doesn't matter. We'll be fine at the end. It's like you're trying to solve a puzzle. And then I'm going to park it to the side. 2 stitches. And all the greens kind of, it's got a yellow tone to them, but they're quite similar. So if you don't look carefully, you could easily get the mistaken one color to the other. All these colors create these beautiful gradients, the shades. They're so subtle. Three, 6, 2. I'm doing a lot of half stitches recently, and it kind of makes me start to miss the 25 count full cross pieces that I've been neglecting for the past few months. I kind of just dived into the kind of 14 counts full cross, or these ones, mini pieces that I stitch with half stitches. I'm kind of going through a phase. Just really enjoy these smaller pieces. I mean, it's not by all means small, but it's smaller than maybe the typical heaven and earth pieces. Right, I'm gonna stick to the rules a little bit more so I don't get confused. I'm gonna do row by row. I've been sort of stitching things out of order. And I'm really looking forward to maybe doing a whip session. You see, I know all the lingos for the stitches. Whip parade. Yes. I don't know who came up with that. But yeah, I get it. I'm going to part this one here. And you'll probably be a marathon session because I have so many pieces. I wouldn't know where to start and where to end, to be honest. There's so many. I haven't counted them. I've started so many new pieces this year. But I like to do a session so it's clear in my mind what I've got ongoing. And maybe, I have a better, well, I don't want to have a plan. I mean, this is not a job. I don't need to be so organized, but it's nice to have that big picture of what I've got right now. So maybe it will stop me from starting new projects. It's very tempting to start new ones. And that's what I tend to do when I get to a kind of a plateau or get to a point that I feel kind of needing a little bit more motivation. What I normally do is I start a new piece. So that's my solution. That's my sort of remedy for that. So with this one, oh, I think I'm gonna snip this off. Actually, I think this is the wrong, incorrect color. It's very short anyway. It's a tiny bit there. Well, I tend to stick with the thread and use it up as much as I can. I just don't like the idea of throwing away pieces. I really don't. And it's not because of the cost. I just look at these beautiful floss, beautiful threads as almost like paint. And the destiny for the paint for these beautiful thread is to be stitched. So, I've seen stitchers. They literally, maybe they start with short pieces, but they would do a loop start. And once they're done with that thread, even just few stitches, they put it aside. Maybe they'll pick it up at some point, but basically they go into the bin. And I find it profoundly shocking. I just can't. I mean, I try to stitch every piece till I can't anymore. 524. 524. Yeah, I just can't bear the idea of throwing away a piece of thread that's still usable, even though loop start is great, but there's no way I'm gonna just throw away the leftover. Like this one, there's only one stitch. Of course I'm gonna keep the remaining thread. And I'm ending it here. Five, two, four. Put it back. This one's really short. No. And the thread here. It's building up a nice collection here. Have a sip of my tea. So good. So there's a little bit of confetti around here. So quite a few sort of one stitch wonders. 471. We've got one threaded. And over here. So I'll try to do a pin stitch here. I'm trying to do this, but I'm pretty clumsy with pin stitches when it comes to such a small stitch. So literally, it feels like I'm just stitching the same stitch twice to anchor the thread down. It's not most elegant, but it kind of works, and you can't really tell. But 3, 4. And this is the method. The best one I know so far for half stitches. I'll definitely switch to another method if I can find a better one. This one's getting quite short as well. One, two, one down here. So I don't know whether you've been to any kind of stitches fair type of thing, kind of exhibitions for stitching stuff. I remember going to one maybe 2 years ago. There's one it's called, I can't remember, maybe Stitches something. It was a big kind of, not exhibition, basically basic kind of a fair that you go. And I remember it was at the time people were coming out of COVID, so maybe nearly 3 years ago, come to think of it. And so I was really excited. I got the ticket there. Finally, you can go to a public place and, you know, kind of do something that feels normal. So I think that was probably the first kind of fair that I've been to. It was quite big. It was in a kind of a exhibition center in London. 612. Let me just get this thread first. 612. So I didn't really know that much about the type of stuff they were doing there. It's supposed to be for stitchers, and so I was, you know, I was planning to do a nice spot of shopping, you know, to buy, to get, you know, get the floss, needles, and also fabric. I was really looking forward to getting some maybe linen, because linen is kind of hard to buy online. You look at a picture, it looks nice. It's less predictable as, Aida or any kind of these type of fabrics. You can go for a brand and go for a certain count, and there's no surprises there. But linen, it's kind of harder to pick, and I wanted to be able to feel the fabric with my hands. So I went. But to be honest, it was, I wouldn't say disappointing. No, it wasn't disappointing. I was quite excited because it was just, people coming out of COVID. But it was a bit lacking there, even though it's a fair designed for stitchers, but it's so broad. There was a lot of sewing stuff, a lot of samplers, and I couldn't really find any good fabric at all. I was asking the vendors, how many counts is this fabric? And they looked at me like I was crazy. And I think it turned out that they're not really for cross stitching, even though there's some linen sort of fabric there, but they're kind of more designed for general use, if that makes sense. So it wasn't really. Where am I? I'm here. Okay, hang on. Picked the wrong thread. It's okay. I'll just park it down here. It was more sort of targeting for all sorts of stitching. And I almost forgot, not everybody, when it comes to stitching, it doesn't mean it's cross stitching. I kind of just presume that everybody's doing the same type of stitching that I'm doing, and it turned out not to be the case. So I actually came back with, I think I bought some needle miters. Some of them I'm using here, maybe not these ones per se. This is a lovely sewing machine. I think I got this one from Etsy. So it's a good place to get your needle miters. But I got a few needle miters, so that was fine. Not a lot of fabric, because I just couldn't find anything that's kind of fit for purpose. So I kind of gave up there. And the following year, I remember I got notification, maybe to go again to buy the tickets. I didn't. I just didn't feel like it was what I was looking for. It was fun, but it was just so broad. And I'm not aware of any sort of fair type of thing for cross-stitching only. I think, cross-stitching, generally they're thinking about maybe cross-stitching kits and sampler type of things. Those are more accessible to most people. So it made me realize that this type of stitching is very niched, and most people probably, buy their own threads and fabrics and kit up the whole thing themselves, which is not something that most people do. The casual stitchers probably wouldn't want to go that far. And in fact, I didn't even know people will buy their own floss and fabrics before I discover this type of stitching. Cross stitching for me, there were generally probably about 16 counts downwards. And they tend to be even if it's full coverage, I had a couple pieces like that. But the colors are the designs, they were a lot simpler things. And I think that's kind of for mass consumption when it comes to cross stitching, because this is very intimidating. I think if you never come across this before, this type of stitching and parking, etc. So I think we're a special bunch. I think this is people who are drawn to this type of stitching are special, I think. That's what I think. And since I started this type of stitching, my full coverage, heaven and earth, I pretty much abandoned everything I was doing. I used to do a lot more stitching. I'll try out different kind of just making things in general. A bit of felting, just for fun. I kind of stopped all that. It just nosedived into this. So I don't know why it's so attractive. I don't know. Three, 3, 6, 4. 3, 3, 6, 4. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit more. These are smaller stitches. 3, 3, 6, 4. So with my yoga classes, what I tend to do is I try to change up the sequences with every single class. I mean, not every yoga teacher does that. A lot of teachers like you, they would do just sort of stick to very similar sequences. And there's nothing wrong with that, because some people might want to go to sort of certain teachers' classes, and they teach very similar poses, so you get to practice those poses, time and time again. I don't know whether you've heard of Ashtanga. It's a style of yoga. They pretty much practice the 50, maybe 56 poses all the time. And a lot of people enjoy that. But I kind of came from dance background, and by nature, I get bored very easily. So as a yoga practitioner, as a student myself, when I go to other people's classes, I look for changes. I look for the unknown. I like to be surprised and be challenged, And so when I started teaching myself, that's kind of, I teach in the way that I like to practice, if that makes sense. Because that's the only truthful and authentic way of teaching, rather than trying to be someone else and try to please everybody. But it's tricky, because the sort of variation that you provide with the sequences, it means a lot of times can be quite challenging for students. And how do you balance the difference, between maintaining kind of a surprise element so they don't go into autopilot, versus maybe pushing too far and people start to get a little bit frustrated because they can't do certain poses. They feel, we all have that self-judgment that, am I good enough, right? So, and today I kind of came across that. So I taught 2 classes this morning, and these are lovely students. They come to my classes all the time. So I do back-to-back 2 classes. Maybe at least half of them come back every week and they do both classes. So it's a long practice in combine. So, and you can tell these are the people who really enjoy challenges and they're not intimidated by the unknown. But today, I don't know, maybe I pushed a little bit too far. I introduced a sequence that I could literally hear the students going, oh, as they're trying to do it. I mean, they're challenging poses, but not so much as crazy. I don't fly around the room, that type of stuff, like arm balances. I don't do that. But they're strong poses. And and I could hear this noise coming from the students. And we kind of broke into laughter, so the entire class. But I knew that maybe, they're at the edge. Sort of reaching their limit a little bit. And that made me think, I wouldn't want to change the way I teach necessarily to be more popular. I think it's tempting to try to please people, but I think I figured, sort of realized ages ago, you can't please everybody. You just can't. Let me just get my color here, 3829. Because if you try to change yourself in order to accommodate, not to offend anybody, not to make anyone unhappy, first of all, it's not possible. So you can forget about that. And also, eventually you lose your way, I think. But it's, it's a judgment call. So I think the only thing you can do is to be authentic and be yourself and draw the right audience, so to speak. That's the only way to go. But it doesn't mean you don't learn from your experience. But I guess it's about knowing who you are and know when to make changes, but not try to become a sort of crowd pleaser, because that's not going to lead you to a good place. I don't think. It's a slippery slope. Quite a few stitches of this color. so fast. Not complaining. Half stitches. Six 1 0. 6 1 0. So I visit Heaven and Earth, the website, from time to time. But I try not to go too often because just in case I see another piece that I like and just end up buying the pattern again. Oh dear, I've got 3-part threads here and only one is being marked on my pattern keeper. So there you go, I've got duplication again. Never mind. 6 1 10. And I'm really looking forward to the Apple version of Pattern Keeper. I don't know whether it's going to happen at all. On a website, it says they're looking to make the Apple version, but I doubt very much it's actually in the pipeline. Not seriously. I don't know. It's been taking so long. And I actually bought an Android tablet, the one I'm using right now. It's an Android tablet, obviously, just for this app. Would you believe? Because I'm a sort of Apple user through and through. But I had no choice. I kind of waited a bit when I discovered the app, really wanted it. And I contacted them and go, well, are you going to make a iOS version? And they go, yeah, well, if you're interested, stay tuned. And I stayed tuned for about 2 weeks. I go, oh, never mind. Let me just get a tablet. So this is my one and only Android device. And I bought it. It's a glorified sort of, what am I trying to say? It serves one purpose only. I have it just for pattern keeper. Three 8. Oh, I do have it too. 3862. I don't know how I managed not to part these threads, not to mark them at all. I have no idea. I'm normally a bit more precise than this. Let me see. There's one more here. And I'm going to tease these one out before I start to run over them. This one as well. I mean, clearly you don't want to do it too early, too prematurely. There you go. 2. One, 2 here. Okay. 3, 7, 8, 7. 3, 7, 8, 7. Just one stitch. One stitch wonder. This one's a little bit tricky to pull out. So I've got a really, really big, large piece from Gecko Rouge. So it's a British company, I think. They do cross stitching kits, but a lot of their pieces not so much big, but they're kind of really artistic design. You know, sometimes paintings or that type of stuff. And they're quite pricey as well. But I actually, in my moment of madness, I decided to get one of the largest pieces they have on their catalog. I think it was maybe nearly 3 years ago. And the piece was so large. I've been stitching it for about maybe over 3 years, on and off. Obviously, I've got a lot other projects going on. But I'm trying to look. Let me check my pattern keeper. So I showed this piece, I think, a couple of streams ago, but I think I'm going to just show you quickly because it's a massive, massive piece. So it's this one. It's by a, let me just pull up this one for you. Oh, no, not like this one. So they've gone, they've got their own charts. Let me show you the mock-up. So this is it. Let me just remove this one. Oh, when I saw this mock-up on their website, I was thinking, should I, shouldn't I? And I kind of slept over it for many nights. I kept saying, no, this is too big. There's no way I can, this is going to take decades for me to stitch. It's huge. I'll show you the stitch numbers in a bit, but it's massive. The whole fabric, it's literally as large as a blanket, like a duvet size. 25 counts, and but I don't know, just calling me every single day, every waking hour. And also it's quite costly as well, to be honest, because there's so much floss involved, a lot of material that they provide, the chart, the floss, and the fabric. And but I decided to get it. Uh, let me show you my progression so far. Okay, so this is how far I've gone. So it's quite a large area, a lot of confetti. It's crazy. But if you look at the totality of what I've done, 3 years, and this is how far I've gone. Okay, and to be, I have to emphasize that I don't stitch every day. I think I probably did for the first 10 months. I would, for the first maybe 3 months, I was stitching every day like a crazy person. And then, I had to change it up a little bit, but I kept going back. But this is, I've got 7% here after maybe over 3 years. So I just wanted to show you that because I would like to be able to go back and maybe pick it up again. Sometimes the idea is just so daunting. So it kind of made, like this piece, for instance, a lot more, I wouldn't say doable because it's still quite big, right? But in heaven and earth terms or full coverage terms, it's kind of more manageable. So that's kind of, the impulse you have sometimes. And I don't regret getting that piece at all, not at all. I'll keep stitching the piece. But as you can see, the colors are quite bright, and you have to be in kind of a right mood for that. Like tonight, this is more my kind of mood. This kind of color palette is kind of for me, for late night stitching. But I love that piece as well. I love to be able to get back to it. Let me see these ones. 779. So I kind of envy people, the stitchers who can pretty much stick to one piece and see it through. I don't know how they do it. Let me do a pin stitch. You know, some people manage to dedicate like 2 years or 3 years in one single piece and then move on to the next one. They're different kind of human beings. So I'm going to park it down, just one stitch here. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Right. 3, 8, 5, 8. 3, 8, 5, 8. Do a loop start. Park it over here. I try to be as disciplined as possible when it comes to doing it block by block, because the temptation is to start stitching over to the neighboring blocks because it's there. But then you start to blur these lines and it gets confusing when it comes to spotting the stitches. It's much easier when you have that nice clear definition, particularly with 25 counts. And here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. There you go. Over there a little bit. One, two, three. Oh dear. I've got one here already. How did that happen? Is that the same color? 1, 2, 3. Oh no. What is this one then? Let me have a look. I think I know what it is. Anyway, I'm gonna trim it off. One, two, three. Oops. So this block is close to completion. That's the great thing about stitching block by block. You have that sort of mini milestones as you stitch, because these pieces are so vast, and you could just kind of just go on and on. I know, most people stitch maybe one page at a time. I mean, the distinction, the definition of pages kind of is less obvious since people start using sort of apps to manage it, like Pattern Keeper. You lose that definition, but a lot of people still use it as a guide. So when you complete a page, it feels like you've completed, you hit another milestone. And that's kind of important, because otherwise, the alternative is to wait till the end, until the whole piece is completed. And that could take, in my case, probably decades or never. I'm being realistic about it. And I'm okay with that. But it's nice to have these kind of mini milestones that kind of motivate you to go forward. And also it feels really clean and tidy. There's something quite therapeutic about this. I don't know about you. Because some people try to blur the kind of square lines just in case they create some sort of marks. But to be honest, life is too short for that. I've never noticed any kind of lines in between anyway. Unless you stitch really, really tight. You pull the floss really, really tight. It's unlikely you're going to end up with sort of those lines. Last stitch for this square. How nice. So I'm going to park it down here. Good. Where do I go next? Well, the great thing about this way of stitching, let me just zoom out a little bit, because it's worth mentioning, is when you go diagonally, I suppose it's probably similar if you go kind of across the page. When you create a lot of edges in different areas, that means there are different color groups that's happening there. So when you get a slightly fatigue, of one color group, you can move on. You can just pick a spot and go there. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move toward the kind of blue area. It's looking very attractive right now. Maybe I'm thinking whether I should maybe complete this one first before that. Maybe, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. But this box, this square, has more kind of different color mix, which is very exciting. So with most pieces, if you move to a slightly different area, you come across completely different sets of colors, and it makes it fun. So I'm going to move over here, maybe zoom in a little bit more. Lovely. I'll be very happy if I can finish 2 squares in this session. I don't ask for very much. I'm slow stitcher. Let me see, shall I start from the left here? Okay, let's do it in order. Let's do it properly. 3, 7, 4, 0. Four, 0. There you go. Only 2 stitches of this color. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And it's always nice to come to a square that's got so many part threads there already waiting for you. That's the beauty of parking method. So I'm going to move it over here. Oh, actually, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. You stitch the one underneath and end the thread. It's only 2 stitches of this color. Nice 3/8. Good. I feel like a hairdresser. I need a hairbrush. So this one's getting kind of short. So I'm cheating slightly here because these ones are on the edge, in the right edge of the box. 1, 2, 3, and it's running downwards. Oh dear, I think I part this one in the wrong place. 1, 2, okay. 1, 2. I got it. I move this one up. I feel like a surgeon. Okay. We park in the correct area, correct spot. Oh, someone say hi. I'm so sorry. I'm in my little world here. Totally didn't notice the comment. So softly says hi. Hi to you. Hello. I hope you're still here. Sorry about that. I hope you're well. Are you stitching? It brings me joy when the people online stitching at the same time as me. So greetings to you. I think majority of people probably, I don't know, if you're watching, you're probably in a more civilized time zone right now. You know, in terms of our time of the day wise. This one's getting so short, but there's only one stitch. So I'm gonna end it. Oops. Down a little bit here. And then skip one, two. One, two. I think I did it again. I part this red in the wrong spot. It's one stitch too high. Or maybe not. Oh yeah, hang on. Let me see. Yes, that's better. There's some when you spot a mistake and it looks like a mess, but when you manage to fix it, it feels good. Or maybe I didn't park in the wrong spot. Hang on. Maybe it's fine, or maybe it's the wrong one I'm looking at. This one. Yes, a double part. It should be one stitch below. So trying to solve a puzzle. There you go. All good now. And 315. 315. Oh dear, it's a little bit of a. Let me see. Why is it so difficult to pick this one? Okay. Got it. I mean, CXC floss, it's really lovely to stitch. It feels quite kind of slightly on the fluffy side. But the downside, I guess, is they get kind of it's slightly more snaggy. Yeah. You know, sometimes they just get kind of tangled. Not that frequently, maybe just me being clumsy. But the texture is slightly different. The DMC is very easy to untangle because it's so silky. So, but I quite like CXC because you can see the tone is so earthy. It just feels, you know, it's got beautiful tone to it. Okay, so I've got one over there. So I'm going to park it down here. Oh, the burgundy is so beautiful. Look at this. It's gorgeous. I'll do this one underneath. And down there. Beautiful. That's weird. Okay. end this one. So that's one of the things I'm really looking forward to is discovering different and new stitching method. To be honest, I'm starting to think that I've tried everything other than long distance cross country, which I can't do. Otherwise, I think I pretty much tried everything that I've discovered so far. But I love to be able to discover, kind of find new ways of stitching because it just makes everything more interesting. I switch around anyway, but you know, and there are a couple of methods, maybe 2 or 3 different methods that I'm drawn to that I do most often. But 3A5A, 3A5A. And there are methods I tried that I immediately know is not for me. And there are ones that I had to sort of, you know, a little bit more learning curve. So I do a little bit more. It's always fun. And take it over here. Racy Pacey. You see, thinking whether to stitch down from here. No, I'll park it. Be a good girl. Seven, 9. Let's see if I can take it over here. Ooh, really big. A bit zoomed in. A little bit too close. 779. And that reminds me that one of the things I really practice a lot when I first started the full coverage type of project was the two-hand method, because I used to stitch with a single hand, pull a thread out, and then switch hand, or rather use a single hand doing both. And so I had to practice. I just wanted to be able to do was to use two hands at the same time, and it took me a while. It was challenging for me, but eventually it kind of got a lot easier, kind of second nature now. I can't imagine doing, one hand. But it took some practice, and it's always fun when you have a goal and you try to stitch a certain way. You know it's going to improve your stitching experience. And the goal wasn't even to stitch faster as such. It's just such a sort of elegant way of stitching. Let me see, where am I? Good. I'm going to end this thread, I think. It's finished with this color. Because you feel like you're stitching like a grown-up. It doesn't matter that much when you do sort of samplers, because with samplers you tend to turn your work around and tuck your thread in. It's quite easy to do. They tend to be larger stitches. But with this type of projects, you want to keep the work on the same side as much as you can. Let me see. So I've got this one here, A01. Already threaded. So I'm trying to see if I can do a pin stitch here. It's kind of tricky to do, I find, particularly with two strands. So I'll do a little pin stitch and then stitch over it to anchor the thread. Not the prettiest method, but it works. And do I have more underneath? Okay, I'm going to take it down here. 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. A sip of my tea. Mm-hmm. 2. 3, 8, 6, 4. 3, 8, 6, 4. I feel so grateful that I discovered cross stitching because it's just so peaceful to do. It's so peaceful. A little stitch here. It's a bit tight, the stitch. A lot going on there. So each stitch is like a pixel of a picture. And you kind of place it down carefully. Eventually composes a bigger picture. Three, 8, 6, 4. I'm gonna start from the right here. Well, I learned this way of stitching from, I think it's Stitch Ninja, a lovely lady, but she's got this variation of this row by row thing. I think she called it snake method. And so I understand the principle is to do it row by row, and you allow yourself to kind of stitch anywhere that's got one stitch above, which I love because it's much more relaxed. Well, or rather more relaxed comparing to strict row by row. So I love that sort of rule. But she does, the reason it's called snake method is for some reason she would go, I think it starts with left to right with odd number rows and right to left with even numbers. And I never figured out why you need to do that. Maybe I missed something. If you know, let me know, because I watch her watch the videos, and I've been trying to figure out what's the advantage of stitching row by row. This one's a little bit tricky to park. I'm gonna find it. But for some reason, and I knew the snake thing probably doesn't work for me because I have trouble figuring out, I have to remember which row is the even number, which one is the odd number. That would probably drive me a little bit crazy there. So I let that one go, and it still works. It still works really well, the way I'm doing here. So, but she's such a lovely lady. I wish, I don't think she's creating content anymore. Sometimes life takes over, and you just forget to come back. It's a shame. She's got a lovely way of stitching, and she's so calm when she speaks. I think she's maybe she's Italian, I'm not too sure. I could watch her for hours. just one stitch here. So and this one here. So normally I would only kind of throw away, so to speak, when it gets really, really short. Otherwise, I try to squeeze in a couple of stitches, even when it's getting kind of short. Whoops. Let me see, just one stitch here, and I'm gonna end it. There's a lot going on here. I'm gonna stitch this one down. I think it's the last one. Oh, actually, I can park under here. One below. One, two, three on the right there. 2, 3, 4. So I guess this is pros and cons. The upside is with this kind of anchoring, a thread ending, it's kind of quite easy to do. You don't have to do a pin stitch, you don't have to tuck anything, you just thread it over, but it gets in the way eventually. And I don't really want to take these end threads too far down. I just feel like I'm wasting a lot of floss there. So, but sometimes it gets in the way with parking. I think it's fine if you're doing sort of mini cross country. It's tricky when you have parts red. Let me see. I don't think this is the right color. Let me have a look. Well, actually it is. My cat, Dolly, she's sleeping next to me really peacefully. One, two, three. One, two, three, four. Yes. One, five, four. One, five, four is a beautiful purple color. We're stitching so closely to these individual colors. A lot of times I almost forgot what I'm stitching, which is kind of nice because after you completed certain sections and you kind of zoom out a little bit and look at it and go, oh my god, so this is what I've been stitching. No idea. I mean, I have a general idea what I'm stitching in terms of the entire piece, but with details, it's nice to look at it in such a close-up, and then you forget, you become less goal-orientated. You're not rushing to do anything. You're kind of just moving one stitch at a time. An image kind of reveals itself underneath, and that's a nice surprise. And particularly with the sort of more confetti area, you're so focused on every single individual colors, color changes. A lot of times you totally forgotten what you're trying to do there. What you're actually stitching. Let me do this one. Move it over there a little bit. I'm gonna take it over here. You know what? I just had a kind of deja vu moment here. It's so weird. I just feel like I've just the last moment when I was stitching these ones, I feel like I've done it before. How strange. How strange. I get that sometimes. But just for that really short moment, because past that moment, it just feels normal again. But sometimes it's just that sort of few seconds, you feel like, hang on, I've been here before. I've done that before. Feels familiar. And it's a strange thing. And the thing is, most people probably have those moments, deja vu. So it's a human experience. It's not sort of so odd that only a few people have experienced it. So you have to ask, where does that come from? What is it? Is it a form of sort of, I don't know, delusion or something else? One stitch here. I don't know whether you've heard of simulation theory. Oh my god! I think, oh, my phone just talked to me because I say, oh my god, I think my phone mistaken me saying Siri. Oh, stop it, you're scaring me. iPhone is scary. That's official. I said, I'll try to say it really quietly so my phone is not gonna respond to me. I was trying to say, have you heard of simulation theory, not Siri, okay? Stop it. If you haven't, welcome to to the crazy world. I don't think it's crazy because who knows? It's possible. It's basically the idea that maybe we're living in a simulation of some kind. And it's probably not that far-fetched. In terms of probability. And I'm fascinated by thoughts, ideas like that. Because it kind of breaks you from being stuck in I don't know. It's just the ground level kind of living. 934, 934, 934. Let me just find my thread first. It kind of takes you out of, just thinking about paying your bills and stuff like that. Nothing wrong with that, but that's a very ground level thing that kind of keeps us from not really living our dreams and our goals. And I'm not talking about goals as in getting a nice job or getting another house, but higher goals. And I'm going to sound like a yoga teacher. But I'm talking about snapping out of the really sort of kind of basic level stuff that keeps us from doing things we're here to do, whatever that is. And ideas like simulation theory, kind of, at least for me, it helps me to remind myself to not to take things too seriously. Because ultimately, I don't know. I don't know whether it's a simulation or not, but it's the fact that it's possible. Let me just find my parking spot here. 1212. Here. One, two, three, four. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it's healthy to know that, or to think that perhaps, what we think or believe is reality might not be so real. And that's a good thing. I think. 2 from the right. Okay. I'm going to end this thread as well. It's getting a bit busy over here. Very nice. So let me see. There's one over here. Already done that. 777. Burgundy. Oh dear. Let me try again. Trying to do the loop start there. And this area is a little bit more confetti. It's got more color changes here. And it's getting really busy down here. So it's one stitch, this one. Look at this. There's so much going on here. Let me see. Okay, never mind. Let me just stack. Stitch on top of each other. Oh dear. It's a lot going on. It's a little bit confetti there. Right. And right here. I think these charts, sort of heaven and earth type of charts, full coverage, only came along after, well, I suppose there's kind of computer software to do it. I mean, this is clearly not charted by a human. So it's a modern invention, I think. Which is kind of interesting. Because stitching goes back a long way. I mean, you know, with cross stitching, it goes back to ancient time. But full coverage, it's a very modern thing. It has to be. I would like to be able to complete this square. before I end this session. It's a sense of completion. Even though now I feel very relaxed. I feel, you know, I'll be totally happy to crawl into bed. I'd like to finish this square. Right. It's one stitch. Oh no, two. And go. I'm gonna have to do something about this bunch. There's all of them are in the square below, so it's gonna get in my way just yet. One stitch over here, this color, and then I have to end the thread again. Oh, actually, I can park it. Oh no, there is one stitch here. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Good. And one stitch over here. Then park it down. And at some point I'll show you, maybe not today's session, but at some point I'll show the back of the project. I'm too scared to look sometimes, but depends on the sort of stitching method. You produce different results on the back. I think if you do a lot of cross country, your back is probably pretty messy. That's just the way it is. A lot of floating thread going everywhere. But it's one of the fastest methods of stitching, I think. 1, 2. What a surprise to pay. The back gets very bulky. I mean, some people don't mind. And if you don't mind, it's all good. But I can't do it. I start to get short of breath. when I have to take the thread too far away. Where am I? 1, 2, 3. Okay. I think I know where I am. And 1, 2. Right. I've got 2 additional rows here for this blog. It's quite confetti, so I'm going to leave it out and come back to finish it in the next session. So today's progress, let me show you. Let me zoom out a little bit. So this is the entire stitch area, so that completed from the upper left there. And how many stitches have I managed today? Let's have a look. Let me see if I can zoom in. Good. I think I zoom out slightly. Right, so I've got 180 stitches completed today, which is not too shabby considering how much confetti, the color changes I have to make. So I picked the 2 squares. The first square, it was a bit fast down the bottom lip here. It wasn't too bad, but this one is pretty confetti around this area. So I'm quite happy with what I've completed today. And it's a beautiful, beautiful piece. And I can't wait to come back to it. But for now, I'm going to go to bed and have a nice rest, hopefully. So thank you for keeping me company if you watch live. And if you're watching playback, I hope you enjoy the session. And I'll see you in the next one. Let me just show you the entire view here as we say goodnight to each other. Good night.